is Histories and Mysteries. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jessica. And on this week's episode, Ashley is going to be talking about the Stanley Hotel.
Yes.
And I'm going to be talking about the mysterious case of Mary Reeser.
Ooh, never heard of it.
Well, you will now.
I'm very excited.
Anyways, tell me some ghosty stories.
Yeah, I'm like in a ghosty mood, I guess. I'll probably do one next week too. I don't know. I haven't decided
Ooh,
yet, but
nice.
I do have to say this is rather short. I my husband was like, I'm surprised you haven't done like the Stanley Hotel or in Estes Park yet. And I was like, oh, I should really do that. It's, for those of you who don't know, The Shining is based from this hotel. And I was like, oh, so cool. Like, that'll be awesome. And it's like super haunted. And it is haunted, but it's like, I don't know. Let me just tell you, I'll just get into it. So I got,
Okay.
I got my sources from Nightly Spirits and Uncover Colorado.
Ooh.
So the year is 1903. Tuberculosis is running rampant, and 53-year-old Freeland Oscar Stanley is the disease's newest victim. Freeland was a very wealthy man, gaining most of it from this technique he developed for photography called dry plating. They used to use wet plating, and he developed this dry plating technique.
What
Don't
is
ask me
dry? Oh,
any other questions. I don't know.
wait, I'm curious. You can't just like come at us and be like, yo, what is that?
All right, let's
Um,
look it up. Dry plating. So
Screen
it's
share.
basically something that I don't know.
Oh my God. You made me choke on my saliva.
Okay, so they are pieces of glass plate that are coated with a gelatin that, when exposed to light, will capture an image.
Okay.
So,
That was dry plating?
yes. Where they say wet plating is pretty involved and can get very expensive. So this dry plating is like this new revolutionary breakthrough thing for photography.
Oh,
And he also had a lot of money from his Stanley Motor Carriage Company. So he actually had the world's fastest car for a while back in the day. It went up to 127 miles per hour. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So when he came down with TB, he was well positioned to partake in the day I wrote in the day and ages recommended treatment.
That makes sense.
The
In the
day and
treatment
ages.
recommended at the time.
Yes, that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Which was fresh, dry air with lots of sunlight and a healthy
Mhm.
diet.
Yeah.
We've talked about that before on this podcast when we talk about other tuberculosis cases.
Mental asylums.
Yep.
Sorry.
So,
My side note, my child has been doing this thing right now where she goes into like a very deep voice when she's trying to be funny. And she loves the movie Coco.
uh-huh.
So she started going around being like, Ola, Ola.
So cute.
Like, okay. And instead of just saying like yes or no, she'll go ah or like very two different syllables very distinctly. It's the
That's
funniest
very
thing.
cute.
Yeah, she's funny. Sorry, that just like really reminded me of that.
So, people who could afford treatment like that instead of having to go to the asylums that they have created for them would go to really mountainous areas like the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. And Freeland was no different. He was a rich bitch. So, him and his wife headed to Denver in March of 1903. First, they were in a hotel, and the doctor was like, "Oh, you should be in a house of like just you." So, I mean, good on the doctor. I mean, he didn't understand why, but you're spreading germs and being around other people's germs. So that was pretty medically backed. So they decided to rent a little house in the mountains. And the doctor recommended Estes Park, which is very mountainous and similar to what he called the elite resort in Switzerland for TB. So once again, him and his wife headed out to Estes Park, where they rented a small cabin. And this seemed to do the trick because Freeland's health greatly improved. And because of this and the beauty of the area, Freeland decided to purchase some property in the area and return there every summer. And they loved it. So Freeland decided to turn the area into a resort town. He had enough money to just pick a town and be like, this will be a resort town.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Seriously, that's
I
insane.
know. So in 1907, he erected the Stanley Hotel. 2 years after the Stanley Hotel was built on June 25th, 1911, the area had experienced severe flooding. And because of this, the power went out. So they did have power at this hotel. He built like his own like electric power grid type thing
Who just
there.
picks up and does that?
I know. I
Like
know.
in the mountains. That just seems like a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot
That's
of money.
crazy. Yeah. Oh.
So this hotel did have power and it went out because of this flooding, but thankfully Freeland had installed gas lanterns in each room for such an occasion.
That's so smart.
Yeah. Well, in the infamous room 217, a buildup of gas had occurred, and Elizabeth Wilson, who was a chambermaid at the time, walked into the room with a lit candle and the room exploded.
Oh no!
And she flew across the hotel. She was thankfully okay. She lived.
Holy shit.
Yeah. But this experience was so traumatic that it left an imprint on her soul. It's said that her spirit stays in room 217, haunting the guests who stay there. Although this all seems scary, Elizabeth is a helpful ghost.
Okay, that's nice.
Guests have reported leaving the room and coming back to a tidier room than when they left. Uh,
Oh, I need that bitch.
their clothes were folded, their suitcases were organized.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, the only creepy thing is one night a couple said that their bed was made around them while they were sleeping in
Oh. I
it.
don't like that.
No.
Ew.
The other thing is guests who are there who are unmarried, like an unmarried couple, said that they'll feel a chilly presence in their beds at night trying to squeeze between them.
She's so fucking funny.
She's like, no premarital sex on my watch.
The thought that I was thinking when she is like packing everything and cleaning, and she's basically just trying to get them out so that the same thing doesn't happen to them.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
pack up and get your shit out.
Yeah.
You don't want to get blown up.
Yeah, that could be.
But crazy. I think it's crazy that she lived.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in that day and age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
There have also been sightings of Stanley himself, who passed away at the age of 91. People say they've seen him in the bar and the billiard room, and they've seen his wife Flora at the hotel's piano. People have also seen the ghost of a child who wanders the halls and will sometimes play with people's hair.
Ugh.
And other people have heard children's laughter in the halls with no one around.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I
The
think that's
children thing
like
is creepy.
I'm just like imagining when our children are old enough that they like are in their own beds and they just come into our rooms at night and they just stand there and stare at us.
I think I told this story on the podcast before, so stop me if I have. But Cody's friend was staying in our house when we were in
Yeah.
Arizona. Yeah, and his kid was looking
Yeah.
for him. I still remember that face. It was ooh. Not that the kid was ooh, just like that in the night, a face staring at you when you wake up, you know.
Well, in our bed, like we have our bed frame is a wooden bed frame and it has drawers underneath, so it's
Uh-huh.
really high the platform.
Uh-huh.
And then we have a box spring and a mattress. So our bed's like pretty high up.
Yeah.
And so I can just imagine Evie coming in, like not even being able to like see her. It's just like right beside, and she tries climbing up, and it's the funniest thing ever. But
Oh my gosh. Just feel
anyway.
like a little hand.
Ah! Yeah, apparently. Oh my gosh, that's
um,
awful.
people have also said that they'll suddenly become ill and then they'll be fine. There's also I like this one. There's also a pet cemetery on the property.
Oh, have you never seen Pet Cemetery?
Well, yeah, but this is a normal pet cemetery.
Okay.
And the owners have had their animals buried there. And there is a golden retriever named Cassie who is buried there.
Oh,
And she still delivers newspapers, and you can hear her scratching on the door waiting to be let in from outside.
oh, what a sweet girl.
I know.
What a good doggy.
There's also a cave system located under the hotel that staff would use to move about because back then to see staff was like taboo. You shouldn't do that. So they have a cave system underneath, and it is said to be haunted by a pastry chef
Yeah, no
that works there.
shit.
Yeah, and people say they can smell baked goods constantly in the caves, which that sounds great.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's lots of spiders though, ready to eat your
probably,
face.
probably. In room 401, there's a not so nice male ghost that inhabits it. Women have said that they were inappropriately touched while standing in a closet of the room. And a man said he saw his wedding ring move from the counter to the bathroom to down the sink.
Oh, that's mean.
Yeah. So this guy, not a great guy.
Real jerk.
In 407, people have been um that is not a sentence that is English. In
Tell
room
it to me.
it says in room 407, people have been tucked into bed, and this said people. Oh, I think I was talking about okay, so in room 407, people have been like tucked into bed while they're in
Huh.
bed by
Yeah.
a ghosty. And I said, and this resource says people, so like multiple people have felt being kept in bed.
Oh,
I think that's what happened.
okay. So it wasn't just like
Yeah,
one random person.
right. It's
Yeah.
like
Okay.
multiple people have felt being tucked into bed.
Ew.
Yeah. Also people have felt someone sitting on the end of their bed. This is they would get up and flip the light on and no one was there, but there was an indentation in the covers of where something had been sitting.
Ew. That's
In room,
grotesque.
yeah, in room 428, people have seen a cowboy. I don't know why. And he's been looming over their bed or lurking in the corner. And
A
in this room,
cowboy
yeah, I don't know. I put cowboy question mark because like why?
in the
Um,
mountains?
I mean, I know like Colorado has like the cowboys because that's like where the ranchers and like Montana and that kind of stuff are, but I don't know.
Hmm.
People have also claimed to hear footsteps from the room above or furniture moving, but there is not a room above room 428.
Oh.
And fun fact, by the 1970s, the hotel was kind of dying. It was kind of going into disrepair. But in 1974, a young unknown author by the name of Stephen King was working on a novel and needed somewhere to stay for a weekend away from his kids and like in a nice backdrop to like kind of give him inspiration. So people suggested the Stanley Hotel. When he went, him and his wife went, And it was actually the last night that this hotel was open for the season. And so him and his wife were the only ones in the hotel aside from like the workers. And that night he had a nightmare that his 3-year-old son was being chased through the hall by a demonic fire hose.
Uh,
Yeah. He woke up with a start and he said that he had the plot to The Shining mapped out before he finished his cigarette.
wow.
Yeah. So the reason why I said it's kind of like not boring because the hauntings are kind of cool, but like nothing happened here. There's no reason why this place is haunted. There's
Well,
no,
the blown up lady.
that's the only thing that happened here. So, and she lived, so it's not like, this wasn't like a tuberculosis hospital. This wasn't any like it's not on any kind of burial ground that they can figure out. It's just like it's just haunted. There's no real reason for it.
Oh,
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, so there wasn't like a ton of like cool history I could go into or like anything like story wise or nothing. I mean, that's it. It's just haunted. It just is.
Oh, well, it's still really cool.
Yeah. So that is my story on the Stanley Hotel.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. I just like it is disappointing to think that, nothing really that interesting happened,
It's disappointing and it's also I mean, I don't want to say disappointing because it's like nothing bad happened. Great. Um, but it's also kind of terrifying because you think about it, a place that's that haunted where nothing happened, like anywhere could be haunted where nothing happens. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, like, the whole your story from last week where the one sorority was haunted
Mm-hmm.
and nothing really happened there.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's just definitely creepy.
yeah,
So yeah. Anyways.
yeah,
Well, thank you for that. It's
yeah.
I also just want the listeners to know that Ashley and I are so in tune. Actually, Ashley's husband and I are so in tune with each other
Why?
that we both thought about the Stanley Hotel
Oh
today.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I text Jessica and I was like, "Hey, have we done the Stanley Hotel?" Because it was sounding familiar to me, especially the dog story. I feel like Rochelle did a story where there was something similar with like a dog or
Oh,
something.
probably.
It
Yeah.
was it just sounded so familiar. And she's like, "No, but actually I was gonna do the Stanley Hotel, but you go for it." And I was like, "Oh, my husband suggested
Yeah.
it."
She's like, "Oh, well, I'm already 2 pages in, so thanks." But no, that was awesome. I'm glad that there weren't like any creepy twins.
Yeah, no creepy twins. That's all
Oh,
The Shining. That's all from Stephen King's head.
I've only seen it once.
Yeah, I've seen it a few times, but years ago.
Yeah, I had a like a horror movie marathon with one of my friends,
Ooh.
and that was on the list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what, too? Before before you get started, I wanted to give a shout out to Iceland.
Oh,
I'm so excited about it. Okay. I
are we still
fucking
there?
love Iceland. Like when we went, it took over I love Iceland. Well, come to find out, we're kind of popular in Iceland. And at one point, we debuted 19 on their top 100 true crime podcasts. We're now 112. But but I
How
think
the
it's
turns have
because
tabled.
oh well no, I guess it is. We just turned but anyway, I love that there's people in Iceland listening to us. So hello, Icelandic people. I love you. I'm so excited. Okay, go ahead with your story now.
Okay. I yeah, I don't know if we have yet, but I just wanted to Shout out to our listener Terry.
Oh
Um,
yeah, Terry.
they're super active in our Facebook group.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Especially for sharing all the Brendan Fraser memes with me.
Jessica loves those.
Yeah. Apparently, Terry also really loves Brendan Fraser. So
Love that.
I love that this podcast has brought.
Brendan Fraser fans together. Also, if you haven't already, take a look at us on Instagram. We're pretty consistent with posts there. We post a lot more there, a lot of like just other like fun stuff. So if you're not following us on Instagram, go check out our Instagram, Histories and Mysteries podcast, I believe.
Yeah, I know how to use it a lot better than Facebook. It's really hard posting. We have like a page in a group, and I don't really know which is which, and I don't get any notifications. So
Yeah, that's weird.
I know
And then
it's
we get the ghost notifications.
yeah, I know.
It's weird.
Anyways, okay, so I'm going to be talking about the mysterious case of Mary Reeser. Okay,
Okay.
I got my sources from All That's Interesting, TampaBay.com, and Medium.com.
Ooh.
So you've probably heard this story.
Okay. Well, it doesn't sound, it's not like immediately jumping out at me. So I'll let you know if I recognize it.
You'll know it. Mary Reeser was a native of Columbia, Pennsylvania, as was her husband, Dr. Richard Reeser Sr. She relocated to St. Petersburg a few years after her husband passed away in order to be near her son and her grandchildren. Reeser cherished her relationships, needlepoint, and socializing. She didn't like the heat in Florida, and she really missed her friends back home. On the final day he saw her, her son could see she was sad about it. She hadn't eaten supper because she had been too anxious about returning home because she was worried that the trip would somehow fall through.
Hmm.
Many are still perplexed about Mary Reeser's death from more than 70 years ago, and with good reason. On July 1st, 1951, in St. Petersburg, Florida, she was found in a pile of ash.
Like,
Uh,
like her body was in a pile of ash, or she was also ash.
She was also ash.
Oh God.
Although the chair she was in when she died burned as well, the rest of her house was largely undamaged, save for some soot and a few melted light switches. So, how could her remains have been incinerated without causing the apartment to burn to the ground? Reese, yeah.
Gonna do a story on that as well.
Yeah.
We're like here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, her case was the subject of numerous widely disseminated theories. The FBI was called in because local authorities were at a loss for words. The agency's experts swiftly issued a report on Mary Reeser's death that provided a clear justification for the peculiar circumstances surrounding it. The Cinder Lady enigma continues as a result of the skepticism of many people. Pansy Carpenter, Reeser's landlady, visited her flat to deliver a telegram, which I was like, the fuck a telegram, right? Like it's 1950s. That shit seems like
Yeah, yeah.
earlier shit. But I looked it up. The last telegram was sent on in 1977.
Oh wow. Do you think that
Yeah.
person knew too? Like this is gonna be the last telegram ever sent. And then
Yeah.
like why did he never send another telegram?
Right.
Oh,
I
interesting.
don't know. But like you think about that, right? Like there was always the last time that you didn't know about.
Yeah, that always like hits me hard when they're like, there's the last time that you were picked up by your parents.
Yeah.
And there's like a
Or
last time you'll pick up your kid.
or like a last time that you and your friends hung out together.
Yeah, yeah. Ugh,
Yeah. I know.
gross.
So Anyways, she lost track there. She delivered a telegram the morning of July 2nd, 1951, so a day after Mary died. Carpenter knocked on the door but received no response. She called the police after noticing that the knob was unusually hot. When the police came, they found a pile of ashes where Reeser's easy chair had formerly been.
Oh my gosh.
They discovered Reeser's left foot still wearing a black silk slipper. Mm-hmm. Like
Oh
her, you could see
no.
like her leg and then her foot, and her slipper was on her foot.
Oh no.
Uh, there were the chair's coil springs, a portion of her spine,
Oh.
and her head, which had shrunk to the size of a cup inside.
What?
I will explain this later.
Okay.
At the time, reports stated that a fire of white hot intensity had demolished the 67-year-old woman. Despite Reeser being reduced to nothing but ash, the rest of the apartment was pretty much intact.
That's crazy.
The upper half of the room was covered in a thin layer of soot. The plastic light switch covers were twisted, and a nearby candle had melted into a puddle of wax. But otherwise, everything appeared to be unaffected. Reeser's bed sheets were also completely white, despite only being a few feet away from the fire, which is just insane. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Mary Reeser's case perplexed investigators because it usually takes many hours of constant temperatures exceeding 1400 degrees Fahrenheit for a
Yeah.
body to be burned.
Yeah, those like cremation ovens at like funeral homes are intense.
Yeah. And how did nobody else notice that, right?
Yeah.
The St. Petersburg police started their investigation after receiving a number of odd tips from different people. A ball of fire struck her after coming through the open window, according to one commenter.
I
Another
mean, that's
claim,
about as plausible as spontaneous combustion, right? Like,
yeah. Another claimed she had been murdered, cremated elsewhere, and her bones had been brought back to the flat where they might be located. Some people assert that they noticed an odd smell near her home. Thermite phosphorus and napalm bombs were among the many things that conspiracy theorists pointed the finger at. St. Petersburg Police Chief J.R. Reichart said in a statement a month after her passing that the case was the most odd case I have seen in my almost 25 years of police work.
yeah, I bet.
Yeah. He wrote a letter to the FBI and he said, "Dear Mr. Hoover, this fire is too confusing for this small town force to manage.
Aw.
Common combustible fluids and accelerants, such as alcohol, gasoline, and so on, would most likely be consumed in such a fire, with no evidence of them detectable afterwards," Reichart wrote. So just like, I don't know, it's just the weirdest case I've ever heard of.
Yeah, that's super weird.
Um, yeah. Ugh. Not long after, the FBI decided that they were going to help.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. The FBI laboratory in Washington, D.C. received boxes of evidence from the police, which included section, sections of the chair.
Know where your mind's at, lady.
I have needs, man.
Your husband listens to this, right?
Yeah.
He's gonna laugh real hard.
He better. So they sent sections of the chair, smoke samples, rubble from the walls and floor, and sections of the apartment carpeting. Agents from the FBI investigated Reeser's enigmatic death for 3 weeks. Her death was the subject of one of the most widely held theories, which postulated that she had died of spontaneous human combustion. This occurs when a person catches fire due to a chemical reaction occurring inside their body without any obvious ignition of an outside heat source. Despite reports of supposed human combustion dating back to 1663, not all scientists have been persuaded. The FBI said that Reeser's untimely death was brought on by something known as the Wick effect, rejecting the claim that she had died of spontaneous human combustion. The Wick effect happens when a person's body fat continuously fuels a fire.
But
So
how did that fire start if it wasn't spontaneous human combustion?
I'll get there.
Oh, okay.
I think. I'm fairly certain I do. If not, I'll let you know because I know what happens.
Okay.
Dr. Richard Reeser Jr., Mary Reeser's son, claimed that his mother had intended to put on her nightgown, take 2 sleeping pills, and light a cigarette before bed. Okay, I do get to it. He had seen his mother just hours before she passed away. According to the FBI investigators investigating the case, Reeser had been smoking when she drifted off to sleep, and hot ash from her cigarette fell onto her combustible nightgown, setting it ablaze. She, oh, sorry. Her nightgown was composed of rayon acetate, and it could have caught fire from cigarette ash at the moment of her death. Isn't that crazy? Your clothes killed you.
But like, I don't, then why doesn't everybody whose clothes catch on fire burn to ash? Because we all have fat on us. So like, I don't know. I don't get
Yeah. I just, I think with the whole, she passed out with her sleeping pills.
it.
Like some people, if they just fell asleep and they dropped ash on their flammable clothing, they would wake up. But she
Yeah.
took 2 heavy doses of sleeping pills,
Yeah.
right? So she might have passed away from smoke inhalation before realizing that she was burning.
Yeah.
And maybe as a result of this, oh, sorry, maybe as a result of the sleeping pills. I already said that shit.
Yeah, I guess.
Reeser allegedly weighed 170 pounds, so her body fat supported the flames as they basically burned her.
Oh man, my body fat would way support those flames then.
Same. Mary Reeser's daughter in law, Ernestine Reeser, concurred with the agency's findings. Quote, Mary was a fantastic smoker. Her lap is where the cigarette fell. And the substance that kept her blazing was her fat. The chair was by itself on a cement floor. There was nothing to burn around her. The FBI is confident about the circumstances surrounding Reeser's death, but some professionals are still dubious. Physical anthropologist Dr. Wilton M. Krogman from the University of Pennsylvania served as Reeser's case consultant. He said, I cannot imagine such full cremation without additional fire in the flat. Even after the FBI investigation was made public, Krogman was perplexed by the fact that the only things to burn in the fire were Reeser, her chair, and the carpeting underneath it. Nevertheless, alternative explanations, including lightning strikes and intentional fires sparked by chemicals, didn't make much sense either. The thing that puzzled Krogman the most was Reeser's shrinking cranium. The skull should have exploded in
Oh.
any fire hot enough to convert a body to ashes, he said.
Oh wow.
Quote, I regard it as the most amazing thing I have ever seen. As I review it, the short hairs on my neck bristle with vague fear. Were I living in the Middle Ages, I'd mutter something about black magic, unquote.
Oh.
Regardless of whether Mary Reeser's death was caused by murder, spontaneous human combustion, the Wick effect, or even a wayward fireball. It created quite a stir for many years and continues to do so today. After the FBI investigation concluded, a part of Reeser's ashes were interred in Pennsylvania next to her husband. The remainder the remainder stayed in St. Petersburg with her children.
So the FBI never put forth an explanation of her shrunken head.
No.
Interesting.
I mean, I'm no scientist, but my thought, because your brain has water in it,
Yeah.
so like wouldn't heat suck all the liquid out? Like she could have bonked her head and there could have been like a crack.
But how would that shrink your head though?
Well, because the heat would shrink, like would take all the like suck all the wetness out and shrink it.
Like out of your bones?
I don't know, man. I'm not a scientist.
You prefaced that.
This shit's weird,
It
okay?
is weird. That's super weird. And I had I mean, I've heard of spontaneous combustion, but I hadn't heard of this specific case.
Well, now you have.
It was super, super odd.
Yeah.
I loved it. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Do you have any good jokes for me?
I do. Give me a moment. Okay. Sorry. Kyle sent me a reaction meme to something I sent to him, and it was really funny. Okay, in a momento. Okay. Does Hawaii allow loud laughing or just aloha?
I like that one a lot. I like that one a lot.
Okay. I have another one. 97% of people are stupid. Thank God I'm in that 5%.
I have a joke for you.
Okay.
Have you heard about the restaurant on the moon?
It's out of this world.
Great food, no atmosphere.
I like that
one. I'm sure people have heard this one. I've heard it, but I like it. I asked my wife if I was the only one she slept with. She said yes. The others were sevens and eights.
That poor girl. Why would you settle for a one?
Right? Maybe he had a really good personality.
Oh, maybe. Y'all know it's the girth.
The motion of the ocean, Jessica. The motion of the ocean. Well, if you want any more of this wonderful humor, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
And if you'd like to rate and review us, you can do so on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to bringing you two new stories next week.
Bye.
Bye.